Well, hello, job seekers, and welcome to Lucas County, Ohio Means Jobs, Jobs in the 419. It's hard to believe that the month is almost over, and as you may recall, just on April the 1st, we started celebrating Second Chance Month. But it is coming to an end, and what we wanted to do today was have a little bit of discussion about Second Chance and the event that we did have here on the shared campus.
Yes.
Teshauna Isaac, she is the CEO and founder of Reflections Coaching and Counseling, LLC.
Yes.
And she is a person who did share a little bit with us here at our presentation on April the 1st. We had her as one of our guest speakers, and we wanted to invite her back because she has quite an inspirational story to share. But today, we're going to turn this over to her to help us close this month of Second Chance with some reflections, so to speak, no pun intended.
Okay, that's right.
And the opportunity to learn little bit more about these services that we do have in our community and how people should check them out.
I agree.
So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
So what words of wisdom do you have for our audience out here? Not all of them are second chance, but they may know someone who is, right?
Right.
Family member, parent, whatever the case might be. What can you extend to them today to share that you think would be beneficial?
I think a lot of times we hear the word second chance, and sometimes we may not reflect over our lives and identify that I do need a second chance and I'm worthy of it. But there are people that are available that sometimes may believe in you more than yourself. So sometimes it's just connecting with the right people, believing that you do deserve the second chance and that the resources are available. And there are people that will support you, come alongside you, and just be that cheerleader that you may need in a time of need.
Mm-hmm. Well, Karen McConnell was here to help launch with Tom Lutke. The beginning of Second Chance Month, right? And one of the words that Karen had stressed was hope, right? So I know you're part of the Reentry Coalition
Yes.
of Northwest Ohio. What has that involvement been like for you in the role that you play?
It is a blessing. When I was released from prison in 2012, I was lost. I wasn't in the same environment that I was in before I went to prison. And so there needed to be a change in my life and connect with like-minded people and connect also with people who are willing to support those who have been impacted by the justice system. So in the beginning, I'm showing up at First Wednesday. I end up meeting Miss Lenora. She invites me to come and be part of the Service and Support Committee. Start showing up, met Chris Stewart, Tom Lukey, the judge, Karen, Willie Knight, just met so many people, Stanley, that were able to be that support and just be a light when it's dark. Mm-hmm. And so after years, even up to now, 2026, now being a board member, being a voice, being able to remind people that there is hope for a better tomorrow, a hope that you don't have to stay stuck and your situations don't have to define you. And so I believe that when everything else is failing, if you just have a little bit of hope, you have some faith in you, that you are able to get back up and take advantage of a second chance. With the laws, people who have served, people who are a voice that are advocating to help those that are in need.
And I think that's true. I mean, the main thing is we have to have that circle.
Yes.
And I don't know if you want to call it the village, but there has to be that circle around you to demonstrate, where's the next step? Where can you find these extra supports? And I think First Wednesday, as you mentioned, is obviously the opportunity to do that. What do you think about employment as part of the process?
Employment is key to moving forward. One of the keys, because we have to make time for ourselves. But if you don't make money, you don't eat. You have to be able to provide for your family. And also, that's how it's easy to get drawn back into the system, because depending on what drew you in the first place into being impacted by the system, it is easy for you to have an old mindset to make money and to eat and to provide for your family. So you said circle, but I would say circle, but also community. Because within the community, you're going to have different entities. You're going to have services. You're going to have providers. You're going to have like-minded people. You're going to have the support. So circle, community, but being able to identify that there is hope here, there's help here, the resources are here. Everything that you everything that you need is there. It's just being able to connect. So first Wednesdays, Ohio Means Jobs. We're talking about service providers, Harbor, Zeph, all of the community agencies that are there to meet us in a time of need.
I think, one of the struggles that many people do find when they're coming back, wanting to get work, trying to identify the right career path, identify with training opportunities. If you had one thing or a few things you could say to employers out there on behalf of individuals that are looking for, what would be a key thing that you would say?
Is give everybody another chance. Sometimes we focus more on what's written on paper and what is defining a person, and you don't give that individual a chance. I was one when I was released from prison. It took me over 6 months to find a job, and it wasn't because I wasn't qualified. It was because of what I had done. But I had already made the decision. What I did in the past was not who I was, and I was willing to sell myself. But I just needed somebody to have hope and believe that that person that outside of the resume, that when they come in the office, that they really are sincere. Mm-hmm. They're willing to put in the work. They're willing to be accountable, and they're willing to take the ownership for what they've done and put all of that into the strength of moving forward. And so a lot of times having that environment that person, no, we don't have to share everything that happened to us, but create an environment the person doesn't have to be afraid of what their past is. No, I don't believe that the person who was impacted by the justice system, that you have to brag and boast about what you've done. But that person needs to feel safe. Mm-hmm. Not be afraid that they have to walk on eggshells and that their job is in jeopardy because they have a felony or there are misdemeanors. So having hope, create an environment of safety, and also allowing their voice to be heard and their gift and talents to outshine what their past had defined them as.
Very good words of inspiration. I think it's important for people to hear that. I mean, on our end here too, we advocate strongly for individuals. I think also for the employer to know that here at Ohio Means Jobs, as well as in other parts of the country, the American Job Centers under the Department of Labor, they have the opportunity to provide different incentives to business as well. So like one of the things Mr. Lutke's working on in this past week was the CQE, for the certification for qualification for employment, okay? So sometimes there has to be a little bit of homework done to provide to a business to demonstrate, yes, we know we might have a qualified individual, but sometimes there might be that little bit of apprehension where the CQE could be of benefit, or there could be other types of tax credits or federal bonding or whatever else might exist out there that could also be an advantage to that business.
I'm smiling, and I'm not for sure if it's on my bio, but I am also a partaker of the CQE. That is how I was able to obtain my my license as a licensed professional clinical counselor. I would not have been able to complete my internship without the CQE. Because again, I understand that some people can have their record sealed or expunged. The type of felony that I had, I did not qualify for it. Mm-hmm. And so having the recommendations, putting in the work, community, volunteering in the community, connected to people. It wasn't just about, hey, can I get the CQE? But what have I done since I've been home from prison? Mm-hmm. How can I show the community, the judge, those that were impacted by me, those who know about me and may not know, but if they pull my name up, how do I know that you're sincere? How do I know that you really changed? There is a paper trail now that shows the effort that's put in, the work that I've put in, and the CQE is just a seal outside, because again, the probation officer, there are several steps that you have to go through in order for them to you qualify, that they approve you of the CQE.
Yeah.
So I'm smiling because I'm a partaker and it works.
Well, thank you for that, because I have to tell you, sometimes people hear the acronym and they're thinking, how long is this going to take? Yes, it is a process, but there's testimony folks here today. And Miss Isaac is a testimony that
Yes.
she's gotten where she's at as a result of that documentation. So it is a paper trail, and it does demonstrate change and progress.
Yes.
Now, one of the other things I wanted to bring up today, if you have a few minutes to just talk about this, is she's also an author.
Yes, I am.
And so I think one of the things that I was intrigued by when I was looking over your bio was the fact that you had written a book, and it was like a self-journaling type of experience that you had from childhood.
Yes.
And sometimes, these cathartic things are very important in transitioning in life, and journaling is never a bad thing to do. I think I would encourage people to do that on a regular basis. Personal growth, you need to be able to identify and see that. So I was intrigued by the title called Blackout.
Yes.
And if you want to just take a few minutes to share with us your story about that, maybe somebody might be intrigued to pick up the book, read, and find out that inspiration for themselves as well.
So the title is called Blackout, which is an intro into my life. So it doesn't tell the full story, but it talks about my path of living in darkness and then finding myself in a path that led me in a place that I did not want to go, and choosing to follow the light to get back on the path that I should have been on my whole life. But a lot of times we don't know what trauma is. We don't really understand what brokenness is. And one of the things I've identified when we talk about trauma, we talk about a traumatic experience is what happened to us, but we don't identify trauma as what happened to us. And one of the things I explain to my clients is the brain can identify difference between an emotional wound and a physical wound. So we'll run to the doctor. We'll do what we need to do if we're physically hurt, but we don't even normally are able to identify that we have been wounded emotionally, that we are hurt in our spirit, and then we just carry the emotional baggage. We go on trying to show up for everybody else, and we're losing ourselves along the way. Mm-hmm. And so for me, when we talk about blackout, I didn't realize I was enraged. I didn't realize how broken I was. I didn't realize how hurt I was. And I didn't realize that my voice had become silenced. And so I was one that kind of expressed in a way that it was easy for you to identify that I'm angry. When we talk about anger, it's going to be more explosive. We've identified that anger is a secondary emotion. So really what's going on beneath the anger? What's going on with me that I never took the time to identify? So again, I started reflecting over my life. I started journaling. I started to see the pain. I teach people the same way we shower for our physical and exterior. What are we doing for our heart? Mm-hmm. What are we doing for the interior, the introspective work? So I'm writing. I learned that the pen don't lie. It's going to show you, it's going to reveal to you that sometimes you can talk your own self out of. But when you make time to really want to find out, why do I think like I think? Why do I behave like I behave? Mm-hmm. You're going to find the truth is buried within the pain.
That is moving and a very intimate side to express with us today. So I really appreciate your honesty and willingness to give us insight into that, because I think many times people, they're not willing to step outside of the comfort zone to have that kind of conversation, but it does need to happen in order to see growth.
I agree.
So I appreciate you expressing that with us today.
Thank you. I learned how to turn pain into purpose. I chose to no longer live as a victim and blaming people, but turning that pain into purpose. And I learned that when you are authentic and make time for yourself, you always can show up and be the best version that you need to be for whoever you're coming in contact with, because you don't make it about yourself. When I reflect and journal, I do that behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. Then I'm able to show up and meet people where they are, not judging, but aware of my own shortcomings, but giving that space to help others along the journey so that they too can have a second chance like I did.
Well, going home to stay month might be ending, but it's not finished.
It is not.
So we have a lot more work to do, and we want to invite people to First Wednesday.
Yes.
We want to invite them to the Reentry Coalition meetings that are, actually there's a couple that come up on Thursdays that they'll be having in the future. And then we want to invite them to OhioMeansJobs for Third Wednesday.
Yes.
So they can have an opportunity to explore employment, possibly work on a CQE or a CQH for housing, and see an opportunity blossom for themselves.
I agree. And if you're listening, we do this to communicate to others, but this is serious. It works. It really works. You just got to come out of your comfort zone. If it's just one person that you can find and grab onto or hold onto them and learn everything, whatever they tell you, even if it don't make sense, do it. Ask them for help. Ask them to explain. Don't be afraid to open up your mouth and ask for help. Don't be afraid and believe that it only could be for somebody else. I need you to believe in yourself and know that no matter what you've done, it's not who you are, and that there are resources that are available that really do work, and there are people who really want to see you succeed.
Wow. That was quite a finish. Thank you
You're
so much
welcome.
for your time today.
You're welcome. I'm thankful to be here, and it was nice being a part of this. And I hope that somebody hears it and really just flood this place. That people have to turn away because they don't have time. I believe these places should just be filled up with people who really, really need a way out.
Well, we've definitely got the supports here, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
The supports are available. Thank you.
Well, that was quite a action-packed interview with Teshauna Isaac, and I'm grateful that she had a few moments to share with us today and give some words of wisdom and inspiration to our audience. I'm really appreciative of people who are able to peel back the layers and be able to have that intimacy with us here to share some of the good, bad, and the ugly that they've been through and how things can really turn around. So I wanted to, say thank you again to Shauna for joining us today. Now, we are finishing that Second Chance Month, and we're going into Apprenticeship Week. And just so you know, we feel that there needed to be a little bit more explanation about what's a registered apprenticeship. So we were able to get Holly Endicott, who's a program administrator from the state of Ohio, to have that discussion with us this afternoon. And hopefully you'll find the information helpful and maybe take some notes and learn a little bit more about registered apprenticeships. Hello, job seekers, and thank you for joining us on OhioMeansJobs Lucas County Jobs in the 419. Today, we are going to introduce you to a very special guest who's going to help us launch National Apprenticeship Week, which actually begins on April the 26th and runs through May 2nd, and coincidentally does coincide with In-Demand Job Month. So we're very excited about having this person with us. Her name is Holly Endicott. She is the program administrator for Apprentice Ohio program. And just in case you wanted to know, what is registered apprenticeship? Well, it's it's a big deal, really. The Department of Labor helps to incorporate this with our American Job Centers and our different facilities that we work with through the state of Ohio in workforce development. And you might want to say to yourself, is there a theme for this particular time of year? Yes, there is. It's called America at Work. And it's really about making America skilled again through registered apprenticeships. And sometimes people really may not give that much consideration, but when you think about it, this year we're celebrating 250th anniversary of the United States. And when you think about how this country was established and built, we had a number of people in different trades that had brought these skill sets to help build our great country. And so we're here again to talk about that. And Holly, hopefully you can help us learn more about this registered apprenticeship program and how people here in Northwest Ohio may be able to get involved.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to join you guys. I think this is a very important topic, and I cannot wait to just kind of chip away at this and help people understand a little bit more about registered apprenticeship programs.
Okay. So if we had to look at the essence of registered apprenticeship, what really is involved?
Fantastic. I can put it kind of into two words: you earn and you learn. I think that is what is so cool about apprenticeship programs overall. It is a proven training model. And like you said, it's probably what has founded this country. But it is a model that brings together on the job training and what we call related instruction or classroom instruction. So you work with your hands and you learn the job, and then you do the book smarts also behind it and put that all together, and you are learning as you go. What is really neat about the apprenticeship program is any program that is registered with the state of Ohio, and that's kind of what my team does. We are a state apprenticeship agency, meaning we register programs on behalf of the Department of Labor. But once we kind of give that blessing, what you are going to get at the end of the registered apprenticeship program is a national credential. So an apprentice that completes a registered apprenticeship program at the completion of their time with that employer, they have a credential showing that they have the skills and abilities and the competency to do a specific job. So I really think registered apprenticeship is one of the most proven workforce strategies. We're training people for real jobs, real wages, and that begins from day one of that training.
Well, that's great explanation. And if we had to circle back to Northwest Ohio, okay, this is where we're, taping from here, right at the American Job Center, Lucas County. What's the number, would you say, or do you have an idea of how many registered apprenticeships are existing in our area?
I sure do. So, I always have to brag about Ohio before I get into kind of the specifics here. But Ohio is third in the nation for the amount of apprentices that we have in registered apprenticeship programs. We are first in the Midwest. We have 463 programs statewide. We have 596 employers that offer a registered apprenticeship program. But in the Northwest area, Lucas County has 41 programs. Wood County has 17. Sandusky 7, Ottawa 3, Fulton 2, Henry 2, Williams 2, and Defiance 4. So Lucas does lead the charge there. And Wood County is very close to that. But a lot of the programs that we see in your area are construction, manufacturing. We are seeing some healthcare and some emerging sectors in IT. But I would say those construction and manufacturing is what constitutes the majority of those 41 and 17.
So there's room for growth.
Room for growth. We love growth. Yes.
And I think one of the things too that you mentioned that many people may not take into consideration is we're going out of that circle of the traditional apprenticeship.
We
Okay.
are.
So, you just mentioned healthcare, you mentioned IT, and I'm sure there are a few others that are not considered non-traditional, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But you're focusing too on where the in-demand potential is for occupations.
Yes. 100%.
So,
Yep.
so there is room for growth.
Room for growth. And I do want to kind of highlight a couple of areas. And I did say healthcare. And I just want to throw this kind of out as we're starting to think about registered apprenticeships. We used to think in healthcare clinicals, and we still talk about clinicals, but we've had some areas that found that healthcare was in great demand of occupations. So took a look at clinicals. Instead of calling them clinicals, we've changed kind of the approach and made it an apprenticeship program. So kind of neat way to think of that, something that is already existing, took that model, tweaked it just a little bit, and now it's an apprenticeship. We've also kind of put our toes into teaching apprenticeships. What we used to consider student teaching, we now have a couple pathways into teaching that is an apprenticeship program. So some of the things that you normally think of, hey, there's already a path in that, we've taken a look at, and we've applied that apprenticeship model.
Well, I think there's a number of employers today that are into this coaching and mentoring because they want to retain that individual in their organization. And that is cost effective. But they're also teaching you the way that they would like things to be done. And it is according to some industry standards, obviously, right? But
Yes.
it's modeled after their own organization, their mission, and how they want to accomplish things.
Yes, that's it. That is, I think, the biggest benefit of an apprenticeship program. It's that customized training for your specific workforce. And you did hit the nail on the head. There are industry requirements. We don't just go with a gut feeling. We
Mhm.
go with competencies. But the workforce, training your workforce for your uniqueness is kind of what we look for. And the retention rate, currently, I did some reports before this just because I wanted to be up to date. The retention rate of a program is about 89%. So anybody that goes through a registered apprenticeship program and completes it, there's about an 89% retention rate for that apprentice to stay with the employer that gave them that training.
Oh, that's pretty high.
Yeah.
So, I always talk about the learning and earning. And so traditionally, we talk about the apprenticeship program having several years to it to you become a journey person, let's say.
Yep.
So, if you wanted to spend time to maybe capitalize on a specific trade where you may have some familiarity with pay structure, or
Mhm.
where you've seen some of the increments, how they evolved from the apprenticeship level to the journey person level, could you share like what that earning potential may look like?
So I do want to say that each program looks a little bit different. And again, that goes back to the uniqueness of it.
Mhm.
We do have programs that maybe 1 year, we have programs that span up to about 5 years. And we do look at the skill level and what the worker is going to be doing. So a lot of factors in that. But the key point of a registered apprenticeship program is that you are getting incremental wage increases as you are meeting different milestones. And again, preparing for this, I did look at many different industries and I looked at your area kind of specific because you're kind of in that construction manufacturing. A lot of the starting wages can be in the high to mid teens. So $18, $19 to start out at kind of an entry level position. And then, it grows significantly over time. As you're learning, different skills, different competencies, it's continuing to go up. And I believe in that Northwest region, what we're seeing is about an average wage at completion is about 28 to $30 an hour. So again, you're starting out kind of high teens, but in just a couple years, you're getting up to that pretty hefty wage of a good earning, a good wage.
Okay. Sounds good. I mean, for people starting out and getting their feet wet, so to speak,
Yep.
that's an excellent wage. Now, when we talk about age requirements, are we looking at like starting at 18 for most of these organizations?
So, Ohio, we have the Ohio Administrative Code, and it gives us kind of the guidelines of what is needed for a registered apprenticeship program. Our code actually says an apprentice can start at age 16, but typically we see 18 as the starting age for a registered apprenticeship. A lot of factors, again, to the uniqueness of a program. There are requirements or basic qualifications that are needed to start a program. A lot of times, there could be an education level. They might want a high school diploma or maybe a GED, which would take you into that 18-year-old range. Sometimes a driver's license is required, or just different job performance duties that are needed that you see kind of the 18-year as the starting age. But we do have programs that can start at as early as 16. We do have pre-apprenticeship programs that really do target that 16 to 18 year
Hmm.
old though.
Yeah, we do work with some programming here through CCMEP, or the Comprehensive Case Management Employment Program. And then also our partner Goodwill works with some youth where there's a focus on that.
Yes.
Um, well, one of the things that I would like you to share is your website, or how people can get involved in exploring the possibilities of these registered apprenticeships, which I'm sure are listed for the Northwest area.
They are, yes. So I would encourage you, if you want any information about registered apprenticeship, go to Apprentice Ohio's website. If you just Google Apprentice Ohio, it comes up. But the actual website is apprenticeship.ohio.gov. But it pulls up Apprentice Ohio's page. On our very first page, our landing page, is our dashboard. And as you kind of look at that dashboard, there's a launch button. You launch the button and you can look for all of the programs, all the registered apprenticeship programs in the state. You can search by occupation or you can search by county. So, whichever way you're looking for it, it will bring up a detailed list of all of the programs that we have registered in the state of Ohio. The one kind of key factor, and again, we keep circling back to that uniqueness, each program hires a little bit differently. So, what our page does, it gives you the employer name and a contact kind of information about that. For the apprentice or the potential apprentice, it is up to them to kind of make that contact and see how they're hiring. Some programs are hiring consistently. Some hire on a monthly basis. Some only take applications once a year. So for us to be able to kind of promote that, we can only give you contact information, and then the legwork kind of has to fall on the person seeking the information.
Okay.
Um, and I do also encourage anybody and everybody to visit an Ohio Means Job Center. A lot of the folks there know how to do the website and do the searching and do some of that legwork as well.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Holly, learning more about Apprentice Ohio programming. And I certainly am going to be able to show this at our May 1st event. If people have questions, they can do our slideshow that we'll have, and we'll have you available there to have some questions being answered if they wanted to know more about the apprenticeship programming here in Northwest Ohio. And I thank you and your team for making America skilled again, because I think this is an important component of what we need to think about for our future growth here in the economy of Northwest Ohio.
I thank you again for just bringing this out and talking about it. I love to talk about it, and I hope that we continue these conversations because I think it's a great program, and I do think it will help Northwest Ohio.
Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure seeing you.
You too.
So it was really great learning about how apprenticeships come together, and specifically here in Northwest Ohio, what the availability may look like. And of course, there's always opportunity for growth in this area. So this does give us a little bit of hope that we're going to see some of these programs expand in the future. So we have a couple things coming up here. And one of them is a job fair that will be at the Delta Hotels. It's being presented by the Blade. We will have a table there. OhioMeansJobs Lucas County will have a table. So please stop by and see us as you're navigating the different employers and the different support providers there in the community that might be available. And then we are going to be at Lucas County Metropolitan Housing over at their Jackson Street location for our apprenticeship week. Now, this is going to be the launch of Apprenticeship Week, so we're going to have some employers there, unions there, educational providers to talk about the apprenticeship role, how you might be getting involved and enroll in these educational processes, or just to learn more about them because you haven't had an experience in dealing with them. So pay attention to the bottom of the screen. We'll give you those addresses and times for these events so that you're able to participate and learn a little bit more about what opportunities exist in our community. So in preparation for that, you may want to work on your resume, maybe some of your interviewing techniques. So remember our workshops, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, always starting at 10:30. You can come in for your resume writing at Tuesday at 10:30, then going into soft skills on Wednesday, and then interviewing on Thursday. So it's always good to be prepared because you never know who you're going to meet or when your next opportunity may present itself. So thank you for joining us today. We are really thrilled to have had two great guest speakers with us, and we look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. So happy job hunting, and remember, show up at these events that we have scheduled here on the screen. Take care and have a great day.